daily activity, right? So in today's session, I've looked at, or I've come up with maybe 4 tools I'll be looking at how we can work with them. So we're going to be looking at the Google Drive. We've talked about it, but I'm going to kind of review it again. Then we'll look at the Google Docs, we'll look at Google Sheets, we'll look at Google Forms and Google Classroom. So before I continue my slide, I'm going to kind of briefly explain why I've chosen these tools. So the Google Workspace has a bunch of tools. It has Google Earth, has Google Maps, has Google Play Store, has Google Slides, Google Videos, plenty of things you can do with it, right? You can play around with all of these tools. You can play around with all of these tools at your own leisure, right? So the reason I've chosen these 5 tools, the Google Drive, the Google Docs, the Google Sheets, the Google Form, and the Google Classroom is from the analytics we have, some of us are into tech, some of us have businesses, some of us are researchers, some of us are postgraduate students, some of us are going to be postgraduate students, some of us are instructors or teachers, some of us are project managers, right? So some of these 5 tools that I've come up with, they are kind of tools that you use every day, right? So there are other tools that exist that are isolated on their own, right? So each of these tools has an isolation for it. So let's use the Google Docs, for example. We have the document editors like Microsoft Word, we have the WPS and so on, right? WPS Word processor, right? But those ones, they are kind of isolated. You cannot really collaborate as a team if you're using those tools, right? Then you have the Google Forms. There are other forms. You have Jot Forms, you have Microsoft Forms. There are other form providers, right? But the interesting thing about Google Forms is that it's integrated in an ecosystem, right? So with your Google Forms, you can integrate it with other tools. So that's why it's interesting. Then we have the Google Sheets, right? There are other spreadsheet tools, data analysis tools that exist, like the Microsoft Excel. There are plenty of them. The Excel in WPS, some other tools that exist. But those tools, although you can work as a team, but it's a lot easier if you're using something like Google Sheets. So you can share files, you can coordinate yourself as a team, right? Then we are also looking at the Google Drive. Now, the Google Drive is kind of like the most important part of all of this. So it's kind of coordinates all of this. So everything is stored. It's kind of like a central repository where all of these tools, everything you're doing is stored. So the interesting thing about it is that everything is in coordination, right? So your data is stored in a central repository, which is the Google Drive. Then the Google Classroom is, you might be in a position where you are an instructor, you're a teacher, or you're handling something that has to do with you being, impacting knowledge and having to get responses, right? So the Google Classroom helps you to manage your students. I'm not too sure, but I'm of the assumption that some of us here are teachers or instructors, whatever field as the case may be. So the Google Classroom helps you manage your class, right? So beyond the physical interaction and communication you have with your students, you can use the Google Classroom to manage all of that. So now the reason for today's session is to see how these tools work together, right? How we can coordinate them together and connect them together and come up with a single or a central result, right? So I always prefer demonstration. I like to demonstrate so that I will see how these things work in real life, sort of speaking English. So what I'm going to do today is I will kind of go through the slide so we understand, get a background or a glimpse of what we're going to do today, and then I'll do a simple demonstration, and then you get to do your own demonstration. So that's basically what today's session is going to be, all about. All right, thank you. And let's proceed. After which I can take your questions, right? So we're going to start with the Google Workspace, right? So the Google Workspace is a suite of cloud native tools that lets individuals and teams create, store, collaborate in real time from any device. So the interesting thing about it is that it's not restricted to your location or the device you're using. Whatever it is you're using, you can always collaborate with your team or your classmates or your business colleagues, as the case may be, right? So it combines a lot of things: document editing, spreadsheets, forms, classroom management, cloud storage, slide management, Google Earth, document editors, videos, and all of that. You're combining everything to to a central repository where you have control of all of these tools. So that you are in coordination. So that's the interesting thing about the Google Workspace, right? So now the first tool in the Google Workspace is the Google Drive, right? So the Google Drive provides cloud storage for files and folders with automatic backup and cross-device synchronization. Now, means that you can store documents, any kind of file, photos, videos, anything like this, you can store it there. You can share it across teammates, colleagues, friends, anybody. And then beyond all of this, you can control access permission, right? So it's kind of like the central repository that connects all of the tools controlled by the Google Workspace. So what we are trying to see here is that unlike the local storage that we have, the Google storage um, is more flexible. So let's assume you're using your mobile device, right? You're using your mobile device. Sorry, 1 second. Please, if you can't see my screen, it could be network from your end. So as usual, try to exit and rejoin the meeting. Meanwhile, I want to confirm if every other person can see my slide. You can send the reaction. All right, thank you very much. So, Mr. Matthew, you can exit the meeting and rejoin. It could be network from your end. All right, thank you. So, like I said, it's more flexible. So, you're using a storage from your phone, for example, or your personal computer. You you could easily misplace those, right? Or somehow they get damaged. Those files there in your local drive, somehow you misplace it, it's gone. You can't retrieve it, right? But where Google Drive is interesting is that whether you misplace your device, provided you have your login information, like your email address in this case, and your password, you can always retrieve those documents. No matter how important they are, you can always retrieve them, right? So that's the interesting thing about Google Drive. Now, the second thing is, so let's also look at local devices, our mobile phones and personal computers. So beyond you securing your device with the password, right? If somebody has access to that password, the person can always access any document you have, right? That is one thing. Now, where Google Drive works is with Google Drive, you can restrict access to a particular document. You can have an entire folder of like 20, 30, 40 documents, and you can decide, okay, oh, I want this person to just view 5 of these documents. So it gives you control as an author of a particular document. It gives you control as the owner of the document. So you can restrict access or give access to who you want to give access to. So that is the thing about Google Drive. And the last thing about it is that it coordinates the other tools in the Google Workspace. So every other thing is stored in the Google Drive, right? Now, the next thing we're going to also look at today is the Google Docs. The Google Docs. So it's like our regular word processor, like your Microsoft Word and the one you have in your WPS or your text editors, as the case may be. But in this case, it's web-based, it's cloud-based, right? And the interesting thing about it is that you can collaborate with teams in real time. So multiple users can work simultaneously on a particular document. You can see live edits, you can comment, you can suggest changes, you can even you can even say, oh no, let's revert back to this, and then you can always manage version. So it means that there's version control in Google Docs. So that's the interesting thing. So instead of having to save and resave, share and reshare documents, you can work in real time and everybody can effect their change. So like I said, some of these tools, we've looked at them before. Some of the tools, they are tools we're familiar with in our, we've been using them for our daily activity. So I'm of the assumption that some of us are familiar with these tools and some of us are not familiar with these tools. So regardless, we are going to see how we make do what we have. So that's the next one we'll look at is the Google Docs. Right now, the next one we're going to also look at is the Google Sheets. Right, so the Google Sheet, like I said in the Google Docs, is a spreadsheet for data entry, analysis, and visualization. Now, the difference between this and the regular Microsoft Excel or Power BI or the ones we have is that with this one, it's cloud-based, so you can always collaborate, right? You can analyze data in real time, right? So now the interesting thing about this is you're not utilizing your local computer resources. You're not using your storage of the local storage of your machine. You're using a cloud storage, right? You're using a cloud storage. So from the Google Drive, that's what you're using, right? Then the next one we'll look at is the Google Forms. So the Google Forms, you can use it to collect data, right? Basically, in the form of surveys, in the form of quizzes, in the form of anything you want to do, you can collect data, right? Or in the form of an application. So the Google Forms helps for fast surveys, like to create quizzes, questionnaires, with customizable question types, right? So it means that you can create forms and then you can get responses in real time. You can see people fill the forms and then you see, oh, and then you can analyze this data with the Google form. So it has a function, or it has a functionality where you can see an analysis of your data. So let's say, for example, you are doing a survey and then you share your form across maybe a crowd of 20 people or an audience of 20 people, and 10 people fill the form. Let's assume you can't count 10 people. Let's assume 10 is a very big number. Because you can't count it, Google Form has the capacity to analyze it well and tell you, oh, you have 10 responses. It can even help create charts for you to show that, oh, this is the response you have, this is what you have, right? So that's the interesting about Google Form. Instead of having to type out your own form, write out your own questionnaire and then somehow print it out, share it across audience, no, you don't have to do that. And I'm very sure some of us are familiar with Google Forms. Most people during thesis defense or final year project used Google Forms to collect data, right? So that's one of the interesting things about it. It's a very good data collection tool. Now, the last to look at today is the Google Classroom. The Google Classroom. Now, this is a very interesting tool. I've used it a couple of times. I've used it like twice. We had the particular training we did earlier on under the B.O.F. So what we used in managing the class, then we didn't have an element. So what we used in managing the class was the Google Classroom. So that's the interesting thing about the Google Classroom. So you might have an organization, or you want to manage people, your students, and you don't have the funds or the capacity to develop an element for yourself, right? So the easiest you can do is use the Google Classroom. So it has some interesting things. You can send in materials, students can drop assignments, and then they receive grades in real time. So you can grade them there, you can interact with your students, they can drop comments. Don't worry, we'll see how all of these work in real time. Right, so if you've not used the Google Classroom before, I'm going to see how it works. So the Google Classroom is a learning management system designed for educators to create classes, assign work, collect submissions, provide feedback, and manage students learning online. So it streamlines communication between teachers and students and integrates with Drive, Docs, Sheet forms for assignments and grading. So all of these tools together is integrated with the Google Drive. So what we're going to do today, kind of like um so basically, this is the slide, right? So we're kind of like going to see each of these tools, how they look like, and just play around with something very simple, right? So now, how does these tools, how do they work together in synchrony, right? So the Workspace app, the way it works is you have your drive that stores all the files. So your Google Docs, your sheets, your slides, your forms, your video, your Google, everything, every tool in the Google Workspace creates a data, generates data, and that data is stored in the Google Drive. So the Google Drive is like your central repository, right? It's like your ECTD for everything. So all of these tools store their data in Google Drive, and it makes a lot of sense because you don't have to deal with multiple storage locations. Everything is stored in just one place, and then you have easy access to this particular data, right? So the classroom organizes assignments and links to Drive resources, right? Now this connects ecosystem. This connected ecosystem reduces friction, so it keeps files synchronized and supports collaborative workflow, right? So you have in this illustration here, you have our Google Drive as the central hub for storage, and then you have all of these tools together, you know, orbiting around it, sending in data, retrieving data, so all of it. So that's basically how the workspace is arranged and how it functions. So now some key benefits, right? So it means the difference or the importance or why it's important that we use Google tools or the Google Workspace. Like I said, there are other tools that exist. They have a lot of tools that exist you can use to do whatever it is you want to do. If you want to edit documents, there are word processors out there. Some are even faster, some are more interesting, some are offline, right? But why is the Google Workspace an interesting one? Like I said, I'm not promoting anybody's brand. I'm just introducing us to something that works, something that I've tried. I'm sure some of us have tried and it works. Okay, something that I've tried and something that you must have tried somewhere and it works, right? So the good thing is that your files and your tools are available across devices with offline options. Not entirely offline, but I mean, let's neglect the offline part. But what the interesting thing about it is that across multiple devices, you can play around with your document. So now the thing is this: if I decide to edit a document with Microsoft Word here, how do I manipulate that same document with my smartphone or my mobile device? It's possible with a workaround. So I have to cut corners for it. So I might not really have that time and energy, right? But with the Google Docs, all I have to do is go to my mobile device, go to docs.google.com, and then log in, and then I have access to that document, and then I can manipulate it there on the cloud. So that's the first thing. So you have access to that document anywhere, any device, right? So if you have a Microsoft Word edited document or slide and it's stored in your local computer, if that laptop or desktop is shut down, you can't have access to that document. You can't. There's nothing you can do, right? But if you're working with the Google Docs or Google Sheets or Google Slide, as the case may be, and your device is off, your laptop is off, for example, and you're somewhere you're far, you can always log in with your email address and password, and you have access to that slide, access to that document. So that's the thing. So you have access anywhere. Now the second benefit is there's real-time collaboration, right? So you can collaborate with colleagues, with teammates, with friends, with anybody. You can collaborate seamlessly in real time, right? You can collaborate simultaneously. You can make comments, you can add suggestions to a particular document. So that's the second thing. So if we try to relate it to the already existing word processors that we have, local word processors that we have, we cannot collaborate, right? Except maybe, let's say Microsoft, yeah, with a Microsoft 365 account, we can do that. But sometimes it can be very tricky to set up, right? 1 second. Am I still audible? I think I'm still audible. Please, somebody should confirm if they can hear me. All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And also, please, if you can't hear me, maybe it's probably network from your end. If you can't see my screen, you can't see my slide, probably network from your end. You can work on your network or rejoin the meeting. Okay. Thank you very much. So yeah, the third one is oh, and thank you, Sandra, for that comment. Much appreciated. So the third one is integrated ecosystem, right? So from the previous illustration I showed, you can see that all of the tools that exist in the Google Workspace, they are kind of connected together, like they work together, right? Concurrently, actually. It means that what it means is that you can be working on your Google Docs and at the same time your slide, and at the same time your spreadsheet. In fact, it makes so much sense that you can connect your Google Forms to your Google Sheets, such that as an entry, as somebody is filling in a Google form, you are getting that response in real time, and then it's being stored in your sheets in real time. Even it gets more interesting. In that real time, everything is stored in your drive, right? It's not like where you have to do something on your computer and then you have to do Control S to save. No, you don't have to do that. With the Google Workspace, everything is happening part time in real time. You don't really have to do a lot. It's controlled, right? So that's a good thing. So it's an integrated ecosystem, right? And then there's automatic backup. So cloud storage and version history protects your work from loss. So you are assured of that. But if you forget your password or your email address, you're on your own. No. Or if you can't retrieve it, you are on your own. So always remember to keep your details safe and secure. All right. Um. So another thing is security, sharing, and permission. Now, the workspace provides permission control, file sharing setting, admin tools to manage access and keep data secure. Like, so users can set, view, edit, comment, rights, can use link sharing policies, administrators. I'll explain this. I just want to read through. Can enforce organization-wide security control and protect sensitive information. So there's access control and there's admin privilege. Now, what all of this grammar is about is with your Google tools, you can restrict. Let's start from the first layer. You can restrict who has access to your file. That's one. 1 second, please. Okay, Queen, I'm sorry you're having issues seeing my screen. I'm definitely going to share this slide. In fact, as a matter of fact, I will be dropping the slides on the WhatsApp group, right? So I will drop the slide on the WhatsApp group now. Just give me minutes. Whilst the class, I'll drop the slide on the WhatsApp group now, so you can use it as well. If you can't see my screen, right? And apologies for that. Okay, so like I said, you can set permissions. That's the first layer. You can manage who can see your file or your document. Now the second layer is, even if you allow people to see, you can give roles. You can assign roles to those people. So somebody can you can have roles like viewer, maybe commenter or editor, right? So what it means is that you share a slide, you share a Word document or a spreadsheet. You can have people view this. Everybody can view it. You can have people view them, but they cannot edit it. They cannot do anything. But then you can go further and decide to make them edit, right? So that's the interesting thing. So it gives you access control, right? You have this admin privilege to assign roles to people or your teammates according to whatever it is you want to do. Right. Now, one thing I want to mention also is that the Google Workspace, like every other tool we've looked at, has paid options. So it has like packages, you have different packages. So there are the paid ones where you have an admin console and all of that. But I mean, we're not using the paid one now, so we much later will look at that. Um, so even the Google Meet, this platform we're using is part of the Google um Workspace app, right? So that's that. We're looking at security, sharing, and permission. All right. So this is what we're going to be doing today. This is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to see how we'll use the drive for centralized storage. We'll use document for collaborative authoring. We're going to use sheets for data analysis. We're going to use form to collect data. We're going to use classroom to manage teaching and learning, right? So that's exactly that will be our demonstration for today. So I'm going to demonstrate and then um you do the rest. One second, please. Trying to share this slide. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do a simple demonstration. We're going to use all of these tools together, right? So we're going to start with let me think, the Google Forms. So this is how our workflow would go. Our workflow will be we'll start with the Google Forms. We'll take data, right? Then we collect responses as the case may be. We're going to see how those responses will look in our Google Sheet. We're going to see if we can analyze some data, right? Then we'll try to write a report on it with our Google Docs, right? And then we'll try to submit it via our classroom, right? So that's kind of like what we're going to do today. And hopefully we have the time for all of that. So as usual, I would request that some volunteers to drop their email so that because we use email addresses for collaboration, that's how I get to add you or give you access. Or don't worry, just hold on. I'll share the link and then you join regardless. So don't worry, don't forget about dropping the email. Okay, you can still drop anyway. All right, 1 second. Okay. having a bit of an issue sharing the slide now, but I'll do that before the end of the class. All right. So like I said, we're going to start with our forms, right? So we're going to create the form. Meanwhile, let me share my entire screen. Share my entire screen first. Okay. So we are going to start with the Google Forms, right? So if you want to, very good way to access the Google Form is through, in fact, just 1 second, let me even share an entire tab. So if you want to access the Google apps, right, if you're using Chrome, for example, right, on the home screen, you're going to see this button here beside your profile picture. See here where my icon, where my mouse pointer is, and I'm sure we're all seeing it. So here, if you click on this, you're going to see all of the tools provided by the Google, or that is available for the Google Workspace. But it's more than this, because they have like the marketplace where you can buy more tools, right? So we have the Google Account Manager, we have the Google Drive, Gmail, Maps, Gemini, YouTube. And by the way, Google owns YouTube. So yeah, the Google Calendar, News, Google Search, Photos, Google Meet, Translate, Docs, Sheet, like plenty. There's so much you can do with this, right? You can't exhaust all of them. So I said we're starting with the Google Forms. So I'm going to look for the forms, Google Forms. Now this is what we're looking for. Google Forms, right? So I'm going to click on the Google Form, the forms. Yeah. So yeah, this is the Google Forms. You're going to have like some templates already. Templates here. All right, this is the template. So we're going to start with blank form. I'm going to create a blank form. Very important. Okay, let me just share that particular tab. Okay. All right. 1 second. Okay, yeah. So that tab is showing just that. Okay. So we're going to go to the Google forms, and we're going to create a blank form, right? So we're going to create a blank form. Now in that blank form, like I said, let's just play around. So let's say it's a classroom environment. So if you click on blank form, you're going to get something like this. This is what you're going to get. So if you've not used Google Forms before, or you've not created a form, you can use this opportunity to know how to do that. So I'm going to be as slow as possible, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to create the blank form, and let's call this form like a feedback survey, right? So productivity tools, feedback survey. And the question we're going to have here is things like name, program, maybe rating, and a bit of feedback, right? So let's call this the title. This is the form title. Let's call this sorry, I'm making this mistake. Productivity feedback survey, right? Okay, so this is what we have. Form description. You can use anything. Let's just call it. I don't know. Let's just call it survey form, right? Okay, let's just call it survey form. So you can always edit. So I can decide to highlight this. And you see some edit functions here. I can decide to make it bold, italics, or underline, or I can decide to add a link if I want to. It's not very necessary. Right. So I can try to remove all of these formattings, but let me leave it as bold. Okay, survey form. Okay, so now that's the name. So we can leave this as, let's italize this. Okay. All right. So now it has different sections. So this is the header, the heading section. And then we can start generating our questions. So like I said, we're going to have um questions like name of a particular student, the program you're doing, the rating. You can rate each of the classes you had, and then you can drop a feedback, right? So we're going to use that as a simple demonstration. So the first one is the first question. So the first question is the student's name. So this is student's name, right? So student name, so if it's a name, it means the person has to type the name. So this is the form title, the question title, and this is where you have the function to choose the kind of response you want. So because it's a name, we're going to choose short answer. If you want the person to write something long, you choose paragraph, right? So we're going to choose short answer, and then this is where the person will type it. So when you're done, you have this side bar here, this small thing here, right? Add question. So if I click on add question, a new question pops up, a new question bar for us. So the next question we're going to add, let's say program choice or two choice. Let's call it two choice. So choice of two, right? So in this case, we're going to use like a drop down. Let's use a drop down, and then we'll have some tools that we've played around with, right? So let's see. I'm going to use a drop down. Let me select a drop down. So in this one, I'll have options, right? I'm going to say option one. Let's see, Google Drive. Option two, let's see, Notion. Option three, ClickUp. Let's leave it at 4 options. Option 4, we can say Slack. Okay, right. So that is what we have. Then we're done with that. We can add the next question. The next question here is rating, right? Let's call it rating. So basically, we're having a kind of like a feedback survey, right? So this rating, let's use a linear scale. Oh, actually selects it automatically for us. So let's say on a scale of 1 to 5, right? Okay, let's rate them. Let's see. First one, poor. Excellent. Excellent. Right. So now then the last question we're going to have here is the feedback. So you're going to write an entire paragraph. Let's call it feedback response. No, let's just leave that feedback. Okay. And then you have paragraph. So the person can write as many things as possible. Now, another important thing I wanted to mention is you can set each question to either be compulsory or not. But in my case, I want it to be compulsory so that you don't miss anything. So I'm going to say it as required. So if I choose this required, it means that you cannot submit the form unless you answer that particular question. So I'll set all of this as required. I'll set this as required, and then I'll set these as required. Second. Okay, so they are all required. So our form is almost done. We're basically done, actually. All right. So the next thing is for us to kind of like edit it, make it fine. So I'm going to do like customize the theme. So I'm going to choose a color. Let me choose blue gray. Yeah, let's use blue gray. The background, I want something dark. No. Yeah, okay. Should work something darker. And then let's choose a header image. Google has some predefined header image. You can use custom image. You can use your company logo, your school heading, letter heading, whatever it is you want to use. So in this case, I'll use let's say illustration. I like illustrations a lot. Okay, so let's use because we're using something like okay, let's work with this like this. So I'm going to click this and then I'm going to insert. All right. So image has been uploaded. So this is what our form looks like. Oh my god. Wow, I want this. Okay. Then I want this. Okay. So this is what I want. All right. So I can try to change the form, the font of so I don't want to use this. I want to use this font bold. Yeah. And then the questions will be I want it to be fine. So I will use a stylized font. Not really. Nope, nope, nope. No fonts. All of this is just to waste time. Okay, let me use this. I hope, and I'm hoping that would see it actually. So you can't see it. Well, it's what it is. Okay, so I think we're about done here. Now, when you're done with all of this, the next thing is for you to let's preview it and see what it looks like. Oh God, it's going to another tab. Let me share this tab now. Okay, so in our preview mode, this is what our form looks like, right? This is what our form looks like. So this is what the student that is going to fill this form would see, right? So let's go back to our actual tab. All right. So hold on a second. All right, so we're about done. Now the next thing is for us to publish because for the form to be fillable, we have to publish the form, right? So I'm going to, you can either, this is where you set privileges, access control, right? All of this.
So I can't see your screen.
Hold on a second. You can't see my screen. Is it
Yes,
just
of
you or is there another person that can't see my screen? I
Everybody can
want
see your screen.
I want to understand if it's from my end. How many people
I
can't
can
see my
I
screen?
can see your
Okay.
screen.
All right. If you can't see my screen, it's probably network from your end. And like I said, apologies for that. But you can either fix your network or you can I don't know, do the usual, rejoin the class. Thank you. But like I said, I will share the slides and whatever it is I'm doing is pretty simple. The videos should be made available, and then you can always come to my DM and ask questions if you want. All right, so let's continue. Our time is running really fast. Okay, so we have this now, and then the next thing is for us to publish, right? So we're going to publish this form. I'm going to publish it. Now, this way I can now manage access control. So I can choose the responders will just be anybody with link. I don't want to give them any other privilege. I'm the one managing the form. So I'm going to publish this form. I'm going to click on publish. And it has been published. So I can try to shorten the URL. It's too long. So I'll copy it. And now this is what I want us to do. This is where we interact. So I'm going to drop this form link in the in-call message. So you can just use and I beg us to be fast about it because of time. So you can use like 1 minute to click on the form and fill the form so I can get the responses, right? So it's your response that I would use to proceed or move further up to the next two. Thank you. So I'm going to give us like 3 minutes to fill the form and then we'll continue. Okay, let's take a 3-minute break. Yeah, I just sent the link. Okay, let me drop it again. All right, I just did that. Okay, I can see that the responses are coming. All right, so 1 more minute, and then we can continue. Okay, my response is not bad. All right, so let us continue. Okay, so we've got 9 responses. Now, I said that one interesting thing about the Google Forms is that it can also help you simulate analysis, right? Okay, so if I come here now, you would not see this because you're not the owner of the form. So I can see this because I'm the one managing the forms. So if I come to responses, I have my summary. I have 13 responses, right? Now I have a chart, a pie chart showing, the responses based on category for the two choice. I have a bar chart showing the uh the level of proficiency or the feedback they are getting, and I have all of this. So I can decide to stick with this, right? And then deal with it. But that's beyond what we're doing is beyond all of this now. And you can see that in real time we're getting these responses and we can see them. We can see them here. Now the next thing is for us to link it to a sheet. Now this is where data enters our system. So it's through the form that data enters our system. So the next thing is for us to link it to the sheet. Very important. So there's this particular word here, this icon here, or this link here called link to sheet. Very important. So I'm going to do link to sheet, and I'll create a new spreadsheet, right? But I want to change the name, so I'll call it let me call it um, feedback survey responses, so that I will know that this is the response. So I'm going to create it, right? So it's going to take a bit of time, and then hold on, let's done. Okay, so we have created it actually. It came up as B.O.F. So I'm going to quickly open the sheet. Now, it's stored in your Google Drive by default. So I'm going to quickly go to my Google Drive and open that particular sheet. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So Drive, I'll open my Drive, and my network is, I don't know, a bit slow. I don't know how to it. So 1 second, let me share this tab. Sure you missed that part. So when you open your drive, you're going to see something like this. Yeah. Okay. Now this is what I have here. So it gets stored in your Google Drive by default. These are our form here already existing here. So I'm going to open this by double clicking. Okay. So this is what we have. Now this is interesting. So with this now, it helps us to create our column and our rows. It even helps us to name the sheet. So these are things you have done. I mean, normally, if you had shared a survey form, like a piece of paper, you'd have had to collect it back, manually create an empty sheet, and then begin to input this data one after the other. Honestly, that's what you'd have done. But with this system, you send out your digital form, right? And the moment they fill this form, you just link it to your sheet and then create a spreadsheet for you. And then from there, you can start analyzing your data. For those of us that are data analysts in the house, you can now carry on with your data. You can export it from here to Power BI, Tableau, Spark, as the case may be, whatever tool it is you're using, and then you start your insane analysis, right? But today we're not doing analysis, right? We're not doing data analysis here. I just want to show us how you can link data collected from your form to your Google Sheet, right? But we'll just, I don't know, we'll do something very interesting. Let's see. Let's see. So if I go to my Google Sheets, what can we do here? What can we do? What can we do? Okay. We have names here. So let me click on this column B, right? The B cell, right? So it's not in order. Let's sort it. So let's sort it. So by the time I do this, I'm going to select by on clicking here, select all of them, right? So you're going to see, okay. I'm not teaching us Google Sheets, but let me just quickly tell us what the environment looks like. So in the Google Sheets, you have your file name, your sheet name, your workspace name, right? Your worksheet name, as the case may be. And then you have this where you move across drive folders or drive locations. This is how you know if your document is saved or not. So this good tick here shows our document is saved in our drive. And then you have your menu bar here. You have file, edit, view, insert, format, data, tools, extension, and help, just like you have in your normal Excel, right? So file is to manipulate your file, save, download, move, export, and all of that. You have all of those here. And then you have your edit, undo, redo, cut, paste, move, delete, find and replace. You have view where you show grid, ruler, group, add comments, zoom in and out. You have your insert tab where you have columns where if you want to insert a column or insert a sheet, insert charts, as the case may be. Now it's going to be a little different from the regular Excel that you have, but it's basically the same thing. But what I'm interested in here is the data. So I want to sort this particular column. So I'm going to go to data and I'm going to click on sort sheets, right? Let's see, yeah, sort sheets. Let's sort sheets column B. Yeah. So now I've already selected. Now it automatically detects column B because I have selected column B. So I want to sort it in ascending order. So from A to Z. So by the time I click sort A to Z, you see that it's now according to number. So the people with number alphabet A comes to the first row, and the people with the higher number goes down. That's basically what we've just done here. I can decide to do the sorting with the two type. I can decide to do the sorting with something else, as the case may be, right? So that's what we've done. We've been able to sort this data, right? So we can, I don't know, let's see. I was thinking if we could create a chart. Like I said, we're not doing any too much analysis here. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's do something interesting. Let me just do a simple formula. So let me come to this place. Let me see something. So if I do let's do an analysis. Let's say I want to find the average. Sorry, the average. Sorry, I'm supposed to use this. Good. The average for let's say, let's call it two. I'm looking at the department of choice, C2 down to, How many responses do I have here? C23. This is C23. Right. So okay. So with that, it's not a value. Okay, let's use D. Doesn't work. Let's use D. Let's use D. All right. Okay. Yeah. So you can. I wanted to test if the same calculations work here in Google Sheets, the one we use in Excel. So this is kind of like the average response of what we have, right? But we're not doing that now. Okay. So we can insert charts here, right? So we can decide to do. Let's go to let's see. Let me select column C, and I'll go to insert charts. Let's see what happens. It's take a bit of time. Ooh, voila. Right. So I mean, actually, we're doing analysis. You think about it, we're actually performing some data analysis here, but this is not data analysis. It's kind of like you trying to visualize your chart or your data, what you've collected in your form, right? You're supposed to present, So that's basically what we're trying to do here. So we can now see that, in this case, I mean, your present is that I have a total of 22 students, right? And out of 22 students, around, I don't know, around 10, 11-ish chose Google Drive, right? Then around 14-ish, 4 or 5 chose Notion, and then so you can now explain what you have in your data. So your spreadsheet makes no sense until you begin to visualize. So your visualization now gives your sheet a bit of sense, right? So you can kind of add more charts. We can even add a pie chart if we want, right? Let's try something else. I want to do something else. So let me select let me select the rating. Oh, interesting. I love this. Let me select the rating, and then I'll go to insert another chart, but it's going to give us a line chart. I want something else. I'm going to use a pie chart this time. Okay, pie chart. Good. This is what we have. So with the pie chart, we can see the rating and all of that. Gives us a legend of color coding and the number of people that choose five months, and the case may be each individual, right? So each student, so you have it's divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just like that, and what they choose. So for this one, choose 5.2, you get it. So the pie chart is divided into 23 or 24 sections of each student or each responses, and the value of each section of that sector of that chart is the rating they choose, right? Okay, so that is basically it. So, and that's what we are trying to explain here. Now, in this case, we collected a form without having to manually type it and put it in our sheet. We created a sheet from the form, and in the sheet we can now perform some analysis, some basic lame analysis. That's what we've been able to do, right? Now, the next thing is, how does this now work? So the next thing is for us to write a report, right? So I want to write a report about the feedback that we got actually. So I'm going to go to a new tab. So I'll click on a new tab, and then I'll come to this tool, right? Let's see, let me call or go to new docs. Okay, here, docs, I'll click on docs. All right, so I've created a new document, and then when this is selected, it is always important. Oh, Queen, thank you for that response, much appreciated. So when this is created, you select the blank document option, right? So when you select the blank document option, you're presented with this window that looks like the regular word processor or word editor, document editor that you know, right? And it gets a lot more interesting. Hold on a second. I think I did not mention something. No, okay, I'll do that much later. So now this is what we have, right? So we have this document part, right? So I want to write a report for what I've gotten. So I'm going to call this document. So this is where you add a title to your work. So I'm going to call this, let me call it survey report, right? Like as usual, you have this menu bar here where you have a bunch of tools, right? But basically, we just call this survey report. And this is how we're going to structure our let's structure it. Let's call it, let's say title. Let's call it let me select a heading. Hold on. So a title. Let me apply a title. So let me call it student feedback report. Okay. Let's call it student feedback report. All right. Okay, that's a title. And let's start with a heading. Let's say introduction. Right. In that introduction, let's say this report summarizes our entire am I even typing? Entire data collected, right? So that's basically, what the hell did I do? Okay, so that's basically what we have. And then we have, another heading called, let's select a heading again. Let's call this heading results. So every report has introduction, methodology, results. Let's call it results. And our results, how do you visualize results? If you're familiar with thesis dissertations, you know how to visualize your results. Now what we're going to do is this: we're going to come to the insert tab, we're going to click on charts, and then pay close attention. We're not just going to select a random bar chart or a random column chart or a random line chart or a random pie chart. We're going to select chart from our sheets. So we're collecting data, right? We're writing a report. So I'm going to go to from sheets, right? So I'm going to select oh, sorry about that. I had a bit of a network issue. I was trying to fix something. Okay, so now you select from your chart. Now remember, we have a chart, a sheet called feedback survey, right? That we created. So by default, Google would show all of the sheets you have in your drive. So if you named your sheet properly, you're going to see something like that. And this is what we created. Now, so I'm going to select this, and I'll click on import. Oh my god, insert. Abi? Yeah, insert. So it's going to import all of the chart that we have, right? So I'm going to click on this chart, and then I'll import. Voila! Our chart is ready, right? Very easy. So those people that have been writing reports and projects, and you've been playing around, design this one, save, and then carry it and paste. No, you don't do that. We don't do that here anymore. What we do, it's easy work, seamless work. Just do your analysis in Excel, in rather your Google Sheets, and then just come to Google Docs and insert. There's no too much grammar. The only grammar you write is the explanation you have for the chart, right? So we're making good progress. So that's basically what we've done. So we've collected our data through our form, we've connected it to our sheets, we've analyzed that data. I mean, very lame analysis we did. For those of us that, I'm sure some of us are actual data analysts here, so at least the lame data analysis that we've done. But regardless, we've done that, and then we have now kind of written a report. The report sounds lame, you know, kind of, it's a very empty report, but regardless, we have a structure here. Okay, so that is it. So we've played around with some of these tools. Actually, I think we're about done. Now the next thing is the last tool I said we're going to talk about, which is the Google Classroom. Right, the Google Classroom. So I said we're collecting a feedback form, right? And then we want to kind of like share that in our Google Classroom. So what it means is, so I'm of the understanding, or I'm of the conviction that you now understand how the Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Sheets work as connected together, right? So I want to kind of explain now explain how we can now use the Google Classroom. So we're still assuming that this is a class, right? So the next two, like as usual, we're going to create a new tab in our Chrome browser. I mean, then like I said, you come to these parts here where you have these Google apps. Then I will create, 1 second, this network is killing me. Okay, and then you're going to see Google Classroom, and this is what I'm looking for. Google Classroom, right? Okay, so I've had some classes in the past, don't mind all of this. This was the NITDA program we did in I think 2023. Same here too. So regardless, this is kind of like an old class, right? So this is the classroom, but in this case, in this Google Classroom as a teacher, as the instructor. So you might want to play around with it later. So just follow along with me. So this is what the Google Classroom, this is how the environment looks like. So this is your sidebar. This is your other, if you want to open other apps or connect the apps to it, and then you want to, okay, no, come to that. So this is your home. Your home is all the classes, active classes you have will display here as a card. Then you have a calendar, your Google Calendar, where you can schedule events, schedule classes. Then you have the enrolled classes, right? And then you have archived classes. Archived classes are the classes that are no longer live or are no longer existing. And I should have archived these ones, right? So now the very important thing, or the very important part of this environment that I want to do is this plus icon here. This plus icon says create or join a class, right? So for now, there's no class existing, so I'm going to create a class, right? Now I'm going to create a class, and then I'll tell you what to do, right? So in order for you to work with me here, you should have your phone or your laptop open. You must have opened classroom.google.com, right? So you're going to see this. So I'm going to create a class. Yeah, I mean, I didn't read the terms of language. I don't care. So I'm going to call this class productivity tools class. What section? I don't know. Live levels. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Crazy. 12th grade movie. Let me call it I don't know. Year 13. Interesting. Subject IT. Let's subject Google Workspace. Okay, because that's what we're looking at. All right, so room, this is not necessary. So I'm going to create. So it's take about a minute or so, and then we have created our class. This is our class, right? So now to join this class, you works two ways. I can either add students to the class or students can join the class, provided they have this class code here. So I'm going to copy this class code, right? I'll copy the class code and then copy the class invite link, and I'll paste it on the in our in-call message, and then you can join. So you use the opportunity to understand how this works. So I'm going to quickly paste these two. I'll paste the class code, then I'm going to paste the class invite link here. So let me call this, hold on a second. I'll call this class code, and then I'll call this class invite link, then I'll paste it here. All right. So I just sent something now. So you can click on the invite link, input the code. So let me quickly demonstrate how you can join the class if you're not familiar with Google Classroom. Okay. So I'm going to go back to home, and then I'll do this join a class. Please, if you're not, just pay attention and follow along. Join a class. I'll click on join class, right? All I have to do is put the class code here, but I can't because I'm already the instructor of the class. So all I have to do is to put in that class code here and then join. You automatically join. Another way is you just click on that invite link I sent to direct you to where you put the class code, right? And then you're in. Then the last way to join is if I add you to the class, right? I can decide to add you. So let's do it this way. Oh, interesting. Somebody's already in. Martin Samuel, good job. Right, I'm impressed. You can decide to add students by their email. I just send them the link, right? Just invite them. So I'll be waiting for you guys to join the class. So I'm going to give us 5 minutes or 6 minutes to join the class. If you're still having challenges, please drop your message on the in-call message. Drop your challenges there. So I just need about 3, 4, 5 students to join so we can proceed. Oh my God, 9 persons. No, I only have 1 person here that have joined this class. Oh my God. Okay. My bad. More than 9 persons. How many do I have? I have 13 students. Oh, wonderful. We're making progress. Okay. So we can proceed. Thank you. And clap for yourself. This class is actually moving faster than I thought. Okay. So see me that I said that the class was just going to last for an hour, 30 minutes. Oh my God. It's definitely going to be an hour, 30 minutes. I'm not going to exceed 9:30. All right. So now the reason why I introduced the Google Classroom is for us to know how to submit, how to share files, just kind of like how all of this works, right? How the Google Classroom looks like. So now in the Google Classroom, you have 3, 4 main things here. You have the stream, you have the classwork, you have people, and you have grade. Like I said, it's a classroom. All of the basic things that happens in an ideal classroom happens there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an assignment. Let's start with the classroom. No, let me create an assignment. What should I do? Oh, no. It works differently. So I'm going to share a material. So let's say I'm the class instructor. I want to share material for us to read. I can do that. So what it means is, if I guess interesting, the slide for this class. Okay, no. Hold on. Let me quickly upload the slide. Oh my. Okay, yeah. Okay, I think I can do that. So I'm going to quickly share the material. Okay, I can see that. Some of us are actually very familiar with the Google Classroom. Nice job. Okay, so I'm going to drop an announcement. The announcement is welcome on board. Okay. We're interacting actually. Oh, thank you. Right. Oh, interesting. So yeah, I can see that we're making good progress. So let's assume, I don't know. You can always edit, delete. All of these are things that are, I don't know, kind of very easy, right? And all of that. So now I'm going to do a classwork. Right, I'm going to create a simple classwork. And I'm going to add a material. Now this is where it gets interesting. So I'll add a material for us. So let's assume I want to add this slide, the slide that I used for this class now. So I'm going to go to material. I'll just close this. I don't do this. So I'm going to call it Google Workspace. I don't know, class. Let me call this class slide. Okay, and then I'll attach it. I can either attach it from my drive or like I'll just upload it direct here. So I'll go to upload. This is the upload. I don't know why this thing is taking time. So I'll upload from my computer and then I'll select this take some time. It's kind of like a very large file. Oh my god. Let's just give it time. I don't know if sometimes they don't allow files that are more than 10 megabytes, but I hope this works. It should work. It's going to take a bit of time. Okay, it's actually working. Let's just give it time. Meanwhile, as I'm waiting for the file to upload, so this kind of like what we want to look at. So we've been able to see how some of these tools work together in synchrony, right? So we've created a form, we've collected data from that form, connected it to our spreadsheets, kind of visualized the result we got, then connected it to our drive, created like a simple skeletal report, and then we're trying to communicate as instructor and students, to see how. So I want to share files. We can also share those. I can also share the sheets. I should have done that actually. The sheets, the document, the report that we wrote from our drive to the class. So I'm going to do that. So let's just wait for this file to upload, right? And then we're going to see how you can assign like assignments and grade students. So if you want to use this in, I don't know, your personal projects, you have like a class you're handling, or if you have like a team, you can use it to manage your team. I mean, it's not because they call it Google Classroom. You can use it as, I don't know, like when you want to cut corners now, to manage your team, assign them, share materials, assign them tasks, kind of like grade them. I know some people do that, some project managers do that a lot. That's why everybody will be competitive, right? So you can do that, all of this. So like I said, I'm not going to teach everything. So by the time you begin to practice on your own, it gets more and more interesting, right? Okay, I think we're almost done here. Let's see. It's that my network is actually slow. Let's give it some time. It should upload in a jiffy. Okay. Whilst we're also waiting for it, I was going to mention something earlier. So let's start with the um form, right? Yeah, let's start with the form. So now in the form, we have 22 responses. Now, I don't know if you pay attention, you discover that initially we had about how many responses. So if you get a new response in real time, you see that result in your sheet. Right. So if there's a new response in the form, in real time, you see it here in your sheet in real time. Right. So that's the interesting thing about it. So what I wanted to mention earlier was that you can decide to collaborate. Let's assume you want to collaborate with friends or teammates or colleagues. There's this part in fact, when it comes to Google Workspace, very most important button here is the share button, right? So I can decide to click on share. By the time I click on share, so I'm the owner, right? I can now decide to add people. So I'll say general access, anyone with link, right? So anybody I share this link to would have access to this sheet. Yeah. Then I can now assign roles to the person. It's kind of taking time. My network is crazy. Okay. So we can now so the role here is viewer, editor, commenter, right? So if I set it as editor, if I share the link with you, it means that you can manipulate this document. It's this spreadsheet or this, I don't know, worksheet as the case may be. And then when you're done, you click done. Then you copy the link, and then we're good. Then in the reports, you can also share reports, like collaborate. I think I've done this in the first class or the second class we did. So you come here just like so, you go to general access, anyone with link, or if you want specific people, you want to give specific people link, you request for their email, add it here, and then you one
I am
second.
not showing your screen. Oh,
Oh, sorry about that. Can you see the screen now?
yes, sir.
Okay, like I said in the document. So let's say we want to share the form, we want the report, we want to collaborate with the report. So I'm going to quickly come here, share. I can decide to add specific people. If I don't want everybody to have access to this email, to this document, I can decide to add specific people. But if I don't, I can just make it general. Everybody has access to this, and then I'll make everybody an editor, right? So if I make everybody an editor, all I have to do is to click done, copy the link, and then if I paste it, right? If I paste this link, so it means, so if I paste this link, it means everybody can now write the report, add an input, or I don't know, whatever it is they want to the report, right? Sorry, 1 second. Okay. Okay, our document has finished uploading. I'll briefly go back to that. So yeah, so you can have access to this and then edit the report as you want. And the good thing about it is that every edit you make, you can it, it will be saved automatically in the drive, right? You can decide to even add a comment so that I will know that, oh, okay, this person added this. So you can just comment on. If you go by the side, you're going to see three things here: add comment and suggest edits right here. So by the side of the document, you see a pop-up, right? So you can do that. So I'm going to go back to our Google Classroom now. So we can see that our document has been successfully uploaded, right? So I've uploaded this document, I've attached our file. So it's under the topic. Let's create a topic for it. Let's create a topic called I don't know, it's called Google. Whatever. Okay, so now I can now post this, right? So by the time I post this in the stream, you should see new material. So I posted a new material. Now everybody in this class would have access to this material. So you can always download it, manipulate it, do whatever it is you want to do. So earlier on, let me see. Earlier on, Miss Queen, no, not Queen. Somebody was complaining of not seeing my screen, and I promised to share the slide. Yeah, Sylvanus, yeah. You can always, if you're in the class, you can now access the slide. All right, okay, I'm going to take questions. So, Mr. Redwan, please go ahead and ask your question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thanks for the wonderful presentation tonight. So my question goes thus, like, probably you have an assignment, like, though maybe you have an assignment you can easily submit, and I want to know how they mark and grading, like, in the Google Classroom for
yeah,
submitted assignments.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I think that should be the last thing I'll do before we call it a day, right? And thank you for that question. I think I was going to skip that, but thank you for reminding me. So, okay, so I've uploaded the document. So this the slide, you can always access it here. Then, if I come to okay, I want to drop an assignment, but it's going to take time. I could just show you how the grading works. Okay, let me drop the assignment, right? So here, if I create an assignment, right? Now this is the assignment. Let's say assignment 1. Answer all questions, right? And I can decide to attach a question. I mean, I don't really have any question now, so I'm just going to kind of demo it. So I'll just say question 1, define Google Drive. Question 2, define Google Workspace. Right. So I mean, those are the 2 things we have, right? So now this is where it gets interesting. So in this section, I'm going to add a due date. So now the grading is over 100, right? So 100 points. So I can try to set it upgradable. For now, it's 100 points. I can now set a deadline. So let's say we have to submit this assignment by tomorrow, right? So due date would now be today is 4, so tomorrow will be our due date, right? I can set a time for it. Time will be 11:59 p.m. Default. Let's use that. So basically, that's it. So each time, if it gets to 11:59 p.m. tomorrow and you've not submitted, then it's late. So I get a notification that this student submitted late, right? It's indicated there that it's late entry, right? And you get a notification for that too. I can also decide to close submission after due date. The moment it's beyond 11:59 of tomorrow, you can no longer submit, right? So by the time I'm done, I can now assign. So I'm assigning this assignment to everybody. I can do assign. So I've assigned this assignment. So as the student, you can call me and then you're going to see posted a new assignment. When you open it, you're going to see that, oh, okay, this is it. I can now see the number. Me now, because this is my dashboard as instructor, I'll see the number of students that I have, and then I'll see the number of students that I've submitted. So what you can do in your own part is to now do the assignment. So there are so many ways to do it. You can either answer the question in a Google Docs and share the link. I'll view it myself, or you send a screenshot of your answer. I'll view it myself. Anyhow it is you want to do, but you can always do it and just attach the file that you have for that assignment. That's how you submit assignments, right? Then by the time, so you can also always see instructions for the assignment here, right? If you have any question, you can always add a comment below it to say, oh, this is the question that I have, right? So by the time we're done, if I come to grades, this is where it gets interesting, right? So, hold on. This default grade assignments. Okay. So by the time I come here, this is where I assign grade. I used to be me, Mr. Redon. Yeah, so this is where the grading works. Yeah, so these are everybody here. So if I've seen your assignments, I can decide to assign you a grade. So like I said, it's over 100. So I can decide to assign 50 over 100. I can decide to assign 70 over 100. As the case may be, but I've not seen any assignment yet. I've not decided on the grading system I want, right? So by the time I'm done, this grading system gets stored. It's here. So each time um I come to grades, you see that for tomorrow's assignment, you have your grades already stored, right? So that's how grading works. So by the end of the semester or by the end of the term, as the case may be, I now have everybody's grade there, and then the rest is history. All right, so that is it about all that we have done today, right? And I'm hopeful that we understood what we did. So it's kind of like a pretty simple thing. The tools are very simple. Oh yes, question. Unmute your mic and ask a question.
Yeah, sir. So you see the same on these assignments. Will there be a column whereby we're able to see the submitted assignments before grading, or it's just be this normal way, like it be in another part?
No, so if okay, what it means is if you submit your assignment, right? Mhm. If you submit your assignment, I get to see it. So I'm trying to okay. I would have logged in with another account and show you how it works. So this is the assignment, right? And then this is the assignment now. If I open the assignment, I would know how many people have turned in the assignment. So these are nobody has turned in yet. I assigned it to 17 people, but nobody has turned in. So if I see that okay, this person has turned in, I can now open that person's assignment. So if an assignment has been turned in, I'll definitely see it and then I'll open it, right? But like I said, you can add an attachment to it. So if it's correct, I give you your grade here, right? Are we together? Okay. Any other question? I can see another hand is up. Your question.
Okay, good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, my question goes thus. Sir, I want to ask, like, I've I've seen something like this, but I didn't know how it works. Like, this is my first time, like, see, but I want to know. There was a time,
Mm,
like, let's say our lecturer back then,
mm,
was a test,
mm.
and this is what we did, but it was marked in real time. It was
Yeah, you
like
can.
marked at the time. So I don't know. Can you show me that aspect that it will have like he already said questions, and when we submitted, everybody starts seeing their result in real time. I don't know
Oh
if you
yeah.
can just tell us that I will appreciate, sir.
Okay. Yes, you can always like set your grading. Like you can always set your grading in real time, right? Let me hold on. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay. So 1 second. Trying to. Okay. So when I go to, hold on. Can you see my, okay, hold on. I think my screen has stopped sharing. So can you see my screen? Let me go back to, all right. So now I don't want a situation whereby I have to, how do I explain it? Where I have to, I assign grades, right? So what I would have to do now is I can decide to do, okay, I can decide to just add grades, like, okay, let's just give everybody 40, right? And then enter grades and everybody gets 40. That's one way it works. Then another way is I can decide to come here and then come to grading. So then I will come and say, so weighted by category, then add grade category, right? So what it means is, let's say 30, let's say 20, right? This would make more sense if somebody just like open the assignment and just do a dummy submission so that we'll do that demonstration briefly. Can we hear me? Okay. All right. Yes. Okay, so so 2 turned in, right? Okay. So we have this, and then I can decide to return this, and then we have okay, so just 2 people turned in. So for these 2 people that have turned in, I just marked turned in, and then we just grade them. Now the thing is, the interesting thing about the grading system is that if you have like how do I explain it? So let's say from our form now, for example, this is our form, right? And then I make this form a quiz, right? I make this form a quiz. So I can decide to come here and then set, set an answer key. So I have like, okay, assign this point. That's one way. Then in the classroom, for these ones that are turned, I just have to come here and just quickly assign the scores, and then assign the scores. So right, so I'm not sure how the auto grading works. There are so many ways to do it. It can be maybe something they did with rubric, right? So I go back to home. Then so so eventually, um, there's no way here to automatically add grades. Uh, with the experience I have, the ones we've done in the past, we just add grades. So any assignment that is turned in, we grade them, right? So that's kind of like how we did it. So anyone we review, we just add a grade, right? So that's kind of like how, I hope I answered your question. Except it was like maybe a form that they already set as a grade, so it automatically begins to grade you. But in this case, you just have to just add the grade for each submissions that you get. So I don't know if I answered your question, Mr.
Okay, sir. What
Mr.
I was
Uche.
trying to sir, what I was trying to say was, it was like it was a objective question like A, B, C, D. You
Yeah.
understand? Something like that. So we just submitted. Everybody was asking the grade immediately. So I don't
Okay,
know.
and it was on Google Classroom, right?
Yes, it was Google Classroom.
So
I don't know
it's
how to do
possible.
that.
So what I'm saying is possible, and one way how it works is if they created the questions in Google Forms, right? So in Google Forms, if they made it a quiz, so in Google Forms you can go to settings and you set your responses as a quiz, right? So when you set it as a quiz, you go back and for each question you have like, okay, this is the answer key. Let's say you're going to give each question say 10 points, 10 points, 10 points, right? So by the time you've done that, it's now easy, right? So what it means is when after doing all of these form updates and then it works, so I'll go to my Google Classroom and then I'll go to grade book. Sorry, I'll go to my grade book. Where is it? I'm supposed to have a grade book somewhere. No, it's not here. So 1 second. I think I'm fine. So supposed to be where we're supposed to add a grade book. If I add a grade book, I'm supposed to use the forms, the responses from the form to automatically assign scores. I don't seem to have. I don't seem to have that here. I guess perhaps. Fortunately, I don't have that here, so I'm not really sure how they did that. Right. So what I'm familiar with is the manual grading system or the form when you create a form and then assign like scores to each form. You assign scores to each form. So you can see that total points 10, depending on the responses you get. So if you go to responses, you can see that this is the average point, median point, range. You have all of those responses. So that's it. I'm not sure exactly how it was done. Okay. Can see another person's hand is up. So Mr. Uche.
Okay, sir, no problem, sir. I'm okay. I'm okay.
All right. I guess perhaps if I come up with something, I'll probably send it on the group chat. Okay. I can see Miss Priscilla. Your hand is up. You can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much for today's class. My question is that I was actually looking for a place to submit the assignment when you said we should do the assignment in the classroom. So
Yeah.
I think I've seen a place that they say turning or something, and I've submitted a document. I don't know whether you have seen it. So my question was it to submit through that place or to submit through the comment section that they say comment?
No,
How
you
do
submit. No, you submit as an attachment. A comment is not a submission. So what it means is, hold on, let me quickly. I hope I got your question correctly, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
the comment is just to inform me that you submitted, or if you have like a question or a challenge or something, you just need an insight on the assignment, you can just send in a comment. I'll read the comment and send a reply, right? But ideally, you're supposed to turn in an attachment. So I have 4 turned in, right? So Evans, I can see an attachment here. I can see Rejoice. I can see an attachment here. But now I can see yours, but I'm not seeing any attachment. So it means that if I want to review, okay, I can see what you have here. I can see an attachment. So you have to send in an attachment. Except except I want except I want the assignment to be as a comment, then I would explicitly state that in the instructions, right? But ideally, you're supposed to send in an attachment, or if it's a question that is attached to like a form, like a questionnaire, right? So you see the link, click on the link, submit your responses. I'm going to get the responses as a submission from my end. All you have to do is to turn in. By the time you turn in, I'll review it, and then so regardless, the moment you turn in your assignment, if it's something that I want as an attachment, I have to see it here as an attachment, right? Else, as a link, I'll see it here. But beyond that, if it's not, it was not stated that it should be an attachment, you can just always turn in. Then whatever it is, if it's in a GitHub repository, if it's in like a form or in a sheet somewhere, and then I can always identify it. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay. Any other question? I can see another hand is up. Unmute your mic and ask your question, please.
Okay, good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone. My question is similar to that of Uche. There was one time when we were in a class and then we were asked to submit or partake in I'll call it an assignment, yes. And immediately after that,
Yeah.
I think it was a Google form. And immediately after that, we got to see our correct response. Like the moment you just submit it, so I get to see, oh, I scored 5/10 or 2/10 thereabout. So I was
Yeah.
wondering how that's possible.
Yeah. If for a Google form, it's very possible, right? It's very possible. So what it means is that how you can do that easily by going to, like I said, you go to your Google Forms, So when you're setting the question, you always just make your form as a quiz, just turn it to a quiz. So enable quiz mode in your form, right? So the moment you enable quiz modes for your form, so it means that you release grade immediately after submission, right? So the moment the person submits, the grades are going to be like reviewed and seen there. Then you can set like, okay, the point value for each question, let's make it 10 point value for each question, right? So then hold on. That's kind of like all of it. So by the time you set it to quiz mode, and then you're good. So each question has like, let's see, default every new question, 10 points. Okay, now that is selected. So it means that each question has let's set it to 10 as a 10 point value. Let's set this to 10, 10, and then feedback, let's make it 10. Then okay, 10. All right. So total points 40, right? So if you send in a response, so let's say for example, sorry, let me copy this form link.
Sorry, sir, not to cut you, but I wanted to know like how the form gets to, like, Google gets to know that, okay, this is the correct response or this is the wrong response in order to aid the grading.
Okay. So if, hold on. So 1 second. Okay. Then we have, so for this one, I can decide, select this. Okay, this is the correct one. And then, so this is the only one that has option here, right? So if I copy this link, I want to demonstrate how this works. So I'm going to open another form, another tab. Just give me 1 second. All right, so then I choose drive. Then so you can just experiment with the form, right? Choose one. I choose this. Submit. So now what it means is that as the creator of the form, I can specify which is correct, right? So
So you're
I don't
not
know if you
sharing
can.
your present screen, no?
Oh, hold on 1 second. So what I'm saying is it's easier for questions that are like options, right? So let me start from the beginning. If I make it a quiz, I will still me. If I make it a quiz and let students receive their response, their scores immediately after each question, right? So I have missed questions will be answered as incorrect. I can set that. So if you miss a question, I get it marked as incorrect, right? Then, so each question has 10 marks. I've already specified that here. So I can decide to also individually specify the total points for each question here. So what I have here is total points 40. So as the creator of this form, I can choose which is correct. But in this case now, I've chosen Notion as the correct option. This is not an ideal question. I can decide to set, okay, let me set a new question. Let me see. The first question is, let's make the first, hold on, let me send it, take off the quiz mode first so that I can actually play around with the question. So let me set the question to be, who is a boy, right? And then option 1 is boy, option 2 man, right? Then this two choice, let's set this to be two choice, poor and excellent, and then let's have this to be are you sure, right? So I'm going to select it to be a check boxes of multiple choice, as the case may be, true and false. Sorry, true and false, right? So now that I'm done, I've set the questions. The next thing is for me to set it to grade mode, then quiz mode, turn on this. So immediately after each submission, so all of these are set already, right? I've already assigned scores to each question. So each question carries 10 marks, right? Now the next thing is for me to select which option is correct in this case, right? So what I have to do now is, okay, right? So I'm going to come here, sorry, and then okay. So I'm going to select which option is correct in this case, right? This keeps I have to set this answer key. It's already 10. Okay. Okay, so I'll select this as the correct answer. I'll come here. In this one, I'm going to set the answer key, and then I'll select Google Drive to be the correct answer. I'll come here, select an answer key. I'm going to select I don't know, something else to be the answer, as the case maybe. Then I'm going to come here, select an answer key, and then I'll select true to be the correct answer, and then I'll click done. So by the time I'm done, I'll now copy this link. So I'm going to copy this link and I'll share it here in the class, right? So I want us to fill that form again. So when you fill the form, you would see that by the time you fill the form, you're going to see your grade. I just want us to kind of experiment it in the next 2 minutes and we'll see how that works. Just fill the correct or the wrong answer and see what you get. If you fill the form and then you've seen your grade, then exactly. So that's how you can do that. Who asked me that question? Who was one that asked me about the automatic grading? Okay, but that's how you do it. So
Sorry, that was
Google,
when I was filling the form, Agrite.
okay. So when you fill the form and answer whether the correct or wrong question, by the time you're done, you're going to see an option that says view scores or view grades. If you click on view grades, you see your score, you see what you get, you see, and then you see the correct option there. So that's kind of like how that is done in Google Forms. In Google Classroom is a lot different, but in Google Classroom, I think from Uche's point of view, from Uche's question, those questions are actually they are actually questions created by default in the Google form. So it's like a grade already. And then it was attached, it was connected to the Google Classroom. So by the time you begin to fill, so they kind of like attach that link to the test or the assignment in the Google Classroom. Yeah, you're going to score it because some of the question is kind of like incorrect. It has no correct option, right? Okay, so that's kind of like an experiment. So for the Google Workspace, the classroom rather, the form was added to the classroom. So by the time you fill the form in the classroom, you get graded because the form has already been activated as a quiz, as activated in quiz mode already. So that's kind of like how it works. So for the forms, you go to your settings, activate as quiz mode, assign each question a score, a point, and then assign the correct answer there. As the creator, you're the only one that can see the correct answer. So the students that are filling the form will not see the correct answer, right? So that's kind of like how it is. And I think we've exceeded our time by like 5 minutes. So it was good to have had you into this session, and I hope we got something. And today was interactive and very practical, right? So you can always go and practice and check out more and other resources, right? Thank you and good evening till we see again same time next week. And shout out to NITDA, Media Foundation, B.O.F, and the Digital Literacy and Capacity Building Block for this opportunity, right? So my name is Victor Ebirichi. I'm your instructor for this course. You can always follow me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn handle, I think I dropped it sometime. I'll drop it again. So we can always connect on LinkedIn. That's kind of like my professional profile, right? But if you have anything, you can always send me a message on WhatsApp. I might not be too fast in replying because of a lot of other activities, but I'll try to respond as well and often as I can. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.